Thanks for clicking play, welcome to the video, hope you're doing well. Today we're going to be doing insulation, which is kind of exciting because once the insulation's in, I get to start putting the walls on. So yeah, once the walls are on, it'll start looking kind of like a camper van. But first, we're going to go get some insulation. Let's go do that now. Woo! So for those that didn't get that joke, this is recycled plastic or shredded plastic bottles. Decided to go for this because in a minibus there's lots of pillars and I don't want to be filling those pillars with expanding foam. This stuff seems quite easy to work with, you can just kind of jam it in there, and it's also not itchy. So let's just get started.
Too late, begging on the floor for me. I'm not the same. I'm staying.
This section was going to be extra tricky because I couldn't use big solid chunks. I had to go around these cables. So what I did is I measured up the size and then I kind of just split the foam padding thing to go around the cables. But on some sections I just had to break it up into smaller chunks and pack it in.
Insulating's going well. It's a nice easy job, which is a surprise. Next I've got to put the foil on the walls to continue the vapour barrier, and that's where we have a problem. When I did the floor, that is fully insulated, but I didn't think about it linking up to the walls themselves. Now when I'm doing the foil on the walls, that needs to meet up with the foil on the floor, which is underneath the wood. I'm going to have to remove the floors to get to that foil, which is an absolute pain in the ass. So I think I'm going to test out my sticking method on the top sections first, and then when I've got a bit more time, remove the floor and link all the bottom sections up.
Next I decided to pull the floor up so I could link it to the walls. But when I pulled back the vinyl, I found that a bit of mould and damp had got onto the wood, which obviously I'm going to have to sort at some point. All I did to link the two together is use thin strips of the bubble foil insulation, stick it down with foil tape so that when I started doing the walls, it would link together and make a perfect vapour barrier. But whilst the floor was out, I also noticed there were small sections where the foil tape had rubbed away, so I just went over this with a couple of layers of foil tape and hopefully that fixes it.
floor for me. I'm not the same. I'm standing on my own 2 feet. I'm taking back my life. All you did was use it. You break it, you lose it. Sorry, your time is up. Now I'm coming back to life. I'm taking back my love. Sorry, your time is up. Now I'm coming back to.
Found that the foam was too thick to go in the space between the roof and where the ridges end, so I had to start ripping it in half just to make sure it wasn't going to be bulging out afterwards.
This next section is going to be pretty tricky because I'm going around these sky vents, but I think what I'm going to do is break it up into sections, and that way it should be a bit more manageable.
I'm walking around in the circle of life, doing the things I know, walking the same ways 100 times with the same soul. But do you ever try to path on the right side, put it up in your mind? But do you ever try to path on the left side, put it up in your mind?
This one's going to be super tricky because it's got to go under the headliner.
Seeing all the watering fill your eyes, doing the things they know, talking about the same old stories they've heard about the people they think they know. But do you ever try to path on the right side, put it up in your mind?
No idea what's going on with my camera, but it keeps switching to time-lapse mode, which is horrible. So the last section was just in a time-lapse, and it was so quick you could hardly tell what was going on. But I've been looking at my plans, and I have to cover this window anyway, because the bed's going to come to about there, and I've decided to put a toilet here. So I get to do one last window with the vinyl, cover it up, and that should be it. Now, I did just try cover it and completely messed it up. I hate working with this vinyl stuff. I mean, if you're doing it, I would probably take your time, stretch it out because it comes in a roll, make sure it's nice and flat before you apply it. Maybe that'll help. I'm sure there's some specific tips for doing it because, you know, people do it as a job, but I just need to get this done. I've got loads of bits everywhere and I just want to get the walls on.
I lost a bit of footage due to a camera error, so let me explain. Before this section right here, I've already covered the back left and the back right side windows with vinyl and then fully insulated them. What you're watching right now is the same process I used on both of those windows.
Circle of life, doing the things I know, walking the same ways 100 times with the same soul. But do you ever try to path on the right side, put it up in your mind?
I've got no idea how to chase the bubbles out, and you can't really see them that bad anyway, so what I've been doing is using a tyre lever and just getting them to one point and just putting a really tiny hole in it and then pushing it and it disappears.
think they know. Talking about the same old stories they've heard about the people that think they know.
So that is the installation pretty much done now. I've still got to do the back doors, still got to do the side doors, and I'm going to be insulating over the cab as well. But the main installation is done. Now, if I was doing it again, I would definitely go for foam board for the ceiling because I think it was easier to do, but it just took longer. I'm also kind of worried that the insulation has now expanded. I'm worried that that's going to make the cladding bow. So yeah, if I was to do this again, I would use the insulation board, even though I know it's a bit more of a pain. And that's the installation video done, and it felt pretty awesome by the end of it because it felt like I was making some real progress and it looked like the inside of a spaceship, which was freaking awesome. So the first thing I really hated about that insulation was the foil tape, because the first couple of rolls I got, you had to peel the back off, which just added loads of time. You're picking at it and peeling at it and you could just never get it pulled away. Whereas the second couple of rolls, or the last couple of rolls I got, literally just peeled straight off like it was normal tape, and that saved me so much more time. If I was going to do a minibus again, I'd probably use exactly the same process. I think it took longer, but it was just easier to work with. After my experience with the foam board, putting it into the floor, that can be quite awkward. And on a minibus, you've got so many small spaces and different sizes that foam board would have just been a pain in the ass. That being said, I probably would use foam board on the ceiling just because there's some big sections, and I think the foam board measured perfectly with the roof ridges that were running along. Now, forgetting that I had to link the floor to the walls to form a perfect vapor barrier was a big error, but at least it gave me the opportunity to see the damp, so I treated that with a couple of coats of paint. And it also made me aware of the fact that the foil was wearing away on some sections, and I got to correct that as well. Now, I do have to apologise for a few sections in that video where my arse crack was on show. Now, if only I'd been wearing one of my old as fuck arse catcher t-shirts with the extra length, that wouldn't have been a problem. Now, a few people have been asking about those. I'm probably going to add a few more of the extra length t-shirts in the store, oldasfuck.co.uk. Shameless self-promotion is over with. The build is getting quite exciting for me right now because obviously it's making lots of progress. I've had the van for almost a year now and it's only just getting to this stage, so super excited. Because it's moving so quickly, I'm going to try put videos out once a week if I can, fingers crossed, touch wood, hopefully. And if I've done anything wrong, let me know in the comments. If you've got any tips, questions or suggestions, stick them in the comments as well, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. If you've made it this far, give yourself a pat on the back. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.